Alrighty, one of the outcomes of the grade 9 electricity unit is to know a little bit about safety, wiring at home. Unfortunately, this is one of those things where you're just going to have to sit back and listen. I can show you a few things, but I can't really sort of, you can't say lots and just stick a fork in that and see if you get shocked. Can't do that. Well, I could, but I'm not going to. Okay, so after this, you'll know what fuse boxes and breaker panels do. You'll know what a GFCI outlet is for and what it stands for. Why some plugs have 2 different size plugs, and why some plugs have 3 prongs. Probably all things that have kept you up at night worrying, right? Great.
I have a question. You know those things that have the plugins that have those 3 things?
Yeah?
One of my thing fell into my extension cord.
It's stuck in there. Yeah, that happens from time to time.
It'll still work.
It'll still work. It's just not as safe as it once was.
Well, if I were to happen to touch it.
The part that's in the extension cord,
Yeah.
it's not live. You'd be okay. Don't do it, but you'd be okay. Okay, so now here's where because I've skipped a couple lessons, it may not make as much sense to you, but I'll try to do my best to explain it. So it says, remember that houses are wired with outlets in parallel. You didn't know that yet, or you don't know that yet because we haven't talked about circuits. But the reason that we wire outlets in parallel is that circuits work regardless if anything is plugged in or if a light bulb burns out. Now the light bulbs in your picture there, they didn't quite photocopy very well because it's pretty light. But basically, you probably know that if at home, if one light burns out, it doesn't mean that all the other lights burn out, right? Okay? If you had those in what we call series, if you had them plugged in like this, with a light bulb, and that's kind of a bad looking light bulb.
That one looks like a mushroom.
Yeah, okay, so if this one here burned out, right, and this is how they were plugged in, you might even have old Christmas lights at home. In the old days, I remember as a kid, every fall, my dad we'd plug in the Christmas lights, and you'd have to, because if one bulb went out, all of them went out, and you would have to literally change every bulb to find out the one that was burned out, and it was a pain in the butt. Okay, that's because they're wired in series. Now they finally figured it out, and they're wired in parallel. Okay, so it's easy to figure out the one that's burned out, it's the one that's not working. Okay, so in the DC circuit lab, notice what happens when multiple resistors are placed in parallel. And I might just show you this here. You will see this when we do the circuits. When you add multiple resistors, multiple appliances, whether they're things like toasters or microwaves or lights or whatever, what happens at home when you plug in too much stuff? Like let's say you got the microwave going and the coffee maker, breaker goes off, right? Why is that?
Because it's like, hey.
Does anyone know?
It's like, hey, you're using too much energy.
It's like, hey, you're using too much energy.
So you need to shut it off.
Well, the problem is what happens is as you add these here, the resistance, overall resistance goes down, and the current goes way up, like extremely high. And when the current goes really high, you get a lot of friction because of that small amount of resistance, and you get a lot of heat. If your breaker panel did not trip, did not go off, what would happen is you'd have a fire. Valerie, are you recording this like for, is that how you're doing that or what? Oh, okay. Okay, and I can show you that right away here once this gets going. But basically what happens is your breaker panel is designed to stop fires, and that's what is probably on the next, yeah, here it is right here, right?
So if your breaker panel...
Here we go. Give me 30 seconds here and I'll do this here for you. So here's my battery. This is what you're going to be playing with the next time. Okay? And I'm just going to add some wires here.
You should actually make power light bulb wires.
There might be some time, if you work fast, there will be time. Okay? So when I do this, you're going to get the light bulb going. See how, oh, that's cool, eh?
Ding.
Every time you add another light bulb,
It gets dimmer.
Does it?
Oh, it did, yeah, look at...
Okay, and I'm just going to add another one. And I'm adding them in parallel. Okay, what do you notice about, see how this, what's the speed of the blue dots here?
Oh, slow down.
Slow, but down here, they're really fast because they has to push enough, because it has to, all the light bulbs have to share the blue dots. What do you think the blue dots represent? Electrons, exactly. And as you keep adding wires,
What if you add another battery?
you're going to get more power.
So slap another battery in there.
I can do that.
Just add a switch, change it around a little.
Oh, didn't connect. Whoa.
Your light bulb is a little bit broken. I think you need another battery. Definitely what you need. Oh, now you got that.
Uh-oh, now I'm really in trouble.
Add another battery. I promise you it'll work. Ching. Ching.
There we go. Okay, so now you can see they're even going slower, aren't they? But they're much faster down here. Now, if I speed this up down here, if I increase my voltage, oh,
No, just go on.
I get really bright, but I also get a fire because I've increased the current a lot.
Look at them at the bottom there.
Okay, you guys need to put your phones away. Okay, you need to listen. Can you put it away? Away.
What does it say at the bottom?
Okay, it says down here, animation speed limit reached, simulation speed reduced to 52% normal. I've increased the current so much that I've caused a fire.
Can you
Okay.
increase it more?
No. All it does is actually it reduces the overall total resistance. What you've done here, or what I've done, is I've been running my coffee maker, my microwave, and my oven, and all that all in one circuit, and I just blew a breaker. Okay, there's no breaker in this. I got a fire.
Slap another battery.
So every time you add a device, a light, microwave, TV, fridge, they all are resistors, the current goes up in the circuit. Do you guys have that there?
Yeah.
Yes. So every time you add a device, the current goes up in the circuit, and you're going to find that out when we build the circuits. You're going to play with that as well. The increase in current causes an increase in heat, which may cause a fire. Bad idea. So, to make this safer, so that when you do plug all those devices in, electricians will install either a fuse box or a breaker panel. This is a fuse box. This is a breaker panel. Anyone that has an older home, generally breaker panels are in newer homes. Fuse boxes are in older homes. Okay, they haven't been upgraded. There's really no, well, I'm going to explain some of the safety differences right away. This was sort of the original idea, and then this is sort of newer technology. You can take an older home and you can install a breaker panel. It's just the cost of the actual panel and the electrician's side. They're generally safer. Rachel. Sorry.
What happens if you have like both running? Like
You
I have
go.
both of mine.
Oh, really? Okay, well, you probably have some circuits that are running on this then and some circuits that are on this. So when whoever upgraded, they maybe didn't go the full sort of, I don't know. You'd still have, maybe you might have this like for a garage or something or other, I don't know.
No, I have both.
Do you really? Okay. No, I mean, but it might be running the electricity in the garage, that's all. Could be. Okay.
Settle down.
Tough to say.
Garage has to be like, how does the door open?
Well, maybe it's a manual one.
You open your door.
Some people have manual garage doors.
Oh, doors have-
When the current gets too high, the fuse or the breaker breaks the circuit. So the original idea was this. Inside one of those fuses, there's a real little tiny metal strip. When the heat on that gets too high, it would actually melt and break the circuit so that you could no longer run your microwave or your whatever it is you've got plugged in. The real disadvantage there was when that fuse broke, what did you have to do?
Go buy a new one and put
Go buy a new one and put it in. It's just a screw-in thing. It's not a big deal, right? But you had to actually go buy a new one. Nowadays, if you've got a breaker panel, all that happens is that the heat causes the switch to flip, and then to fix it, all you have to do is go downstairs, open the door, and just switch it over, right? You reset it once you've unplugged all the stuff. So it's a little bit cheaper, it's a little bit more convenient. I have a video to show you.
It's in my room. Sounds like she's from Boston.
But it did explain the difference between the two.
Sounds like she's from Boston and she was yelling.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah, I'll feel like
Okay. So here's some differences. There's Braden or someone was asking what's the difference, right? Fuse boxes are usually only found in older homes. breaker panels are now the accepted code. If you build a new home, you must put in a breaker panel. Okay, you can upgrade an older home to that, and I've certainly known people that have done that successfully. Okay, so fuse panels versus breakers. Several reasons for this, or several reasons why breaker panels are safer. Fuse panels are old. It's likely overloaded.
Oh.
Okay? Any house nowadays requires more circuits than old fuse boxes hold. Okay? Generally, they're not quite as safe. What kind of things do we now have that they didn't have, say, 60, 70 years ago that require power
Electricity.
in your home? Things like microwaves and DVD players and cell phone chargers and
Ovens.
computers, and just we have a lot more electricity going on in our home than they did back then. Fuse panels can't usually keep up. It'll increase the resale value of your house. Okay? It'll likely, no one will likely want to buy a home that hasn't got upgraded electricity. So, or if you're thinking about buying a home and they have a fuse box, ask for a reduced price because you're going to have to fix that, replace that. Some homeowners insurance companies will raise your rate or even cancel your policy if you have one. Basically, they want everyone to have breaker panels now. They're encouraging you by discouraging you to have a fuse box.
Said.
And again, it depends on your situation. It's not sort of urgent, like don't lose sleep over it tonight.
No, it's gonna be pretty tough.
Yeah.
Well, if you got both, then you must have good electricity.
They are a known fire hazard because people get tired of the fuses breaking, and so they put in fuses that are too big. Okay, so what happens is people get tired, oh, the fuse is constantly going, what can we do? So they put in a fuse that allows more heat to be generated than should be, and that becomes a safety concern. Okay, breaker panel people don't get too worried about because they go down, they can flip it right away. So they are a bit of a fire hazard, and that's the reason. It's somewhat difficult to tell if a fuse is blown compared to a breaker. It's hard to tell which one. But it's easy because on the switches, you see all these switches turn to the left, and then there's one to the right. You know it's that one, right?
Okay.
Lots of reasons. There's no room for new circuits. You can't really add new circuits. And when a fuse goes, you need to run out to the store and buy a new one. Breakers only need to be reset. So there's lots of reasons why. Oh, there's even one more.
There's two more.
Two more. Looking at the face of the fuse panel, you cannot tell what is the proper fuse size. Cover needs to be removed to determine wire size. Changing fuses can also be hazardous because you're talking about live electricity. You might stick your finger in there. A lot of reasons why homeowners that have a fuse box should seriously consider upgrading. Here's a video to explain more about what I've been saying.
It's all black.
So, just like I was saying, people tend to put in fuses that are too big. They upgrade. They go from a 15 amp to a 20 amp, and they get you get more heat, you get more fire.
Hey, let's watch those videos.
You want to watch those ones too?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Okay.
Found one again video.
No, I've seen that one before. It's not that good. Okay, let's talk about these kind of things here. Now, I've got one of these outside my house that I plug my wife's car into, and it drives me nuts because every morning it trips and then her car is plugged in and then she has a hard time starting. Pain in the butt. I got to check it out. So these receptacles here, you probably have one outside somewhere or maybe in a bathroom, right?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Not that kind of. Well, maybe, yeah. Some power bars have a little breaker in them as well, right?
Why is
So-
that thing like that?
No, I
GFCI stands for Ground Fault Circuit Interrupt. They're used in wet locations such as bathrooms and outside. They offer another level of security beyond breaker panel. It's like your own mini breaker panel for just that outlet. Okay? Province of Manitoba Code says that receptacles located within 1.5 meters of the sink must be protected with a ground fault circuit interrupter, GFCI of the Class A type. You probably have outlets. I know I have at least 3 in my home that are near a sink that are not GFCIs because it wasn't code when the house was built. If I get an electrician in to do some work, he might say, you know what, you should really replace those. And I say, how much is it going to cost? Well, a GFI is about maybe $15, $20. It's going to take him maybe 10, 50 minutes. Might cost you $30 or $40. but it's a little bit safer, okay? And again, it will keep the value of your home.
It's for if some water gets
It's
in
for if water gets in there, it will automatically stop power to that device immediately. I have a video to show you, Tyler.
Oh my god.
God, Mr. Bennett, you are awesome.
Yeah, jeez.
I have an extension cord to my computer that a wire stops if there's too much power.
Yeah. This is explaining what a GFCI is. Okay, so that's a GFCI. Now, Tyler asked about the little sort of the funny looking hole here kind of thing, right? It's some devices should only be plugged into a GFI, and that allows it, because it's got that T in it, will only go into a GFI. So in other words, you can't plug it into a regular inside sort of plug. Okay? Certain devices require a GFI.
Oh, so like certain
plug.
ones will have like a little.
Yeah, have a little sort of pokey T thing like that. I can't come up with an example, but that's what I know that it's for. Okay, now what about, this is probably frustrating as well, right? Polarized plugs. And what I mean by polarized plug is there's two prongs, one wide and one narrow. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a pain in the butt, right? Because you try to plug it in, oh, it's the other way around, right? So these are designed for safety reasons as well. It ensures, provided the plug-in is wired correctly, that the live current is connected to the safer part of a fixture. We all know that when Tyler cranks the hand generator back there, right, that it doesn't matter which way you crank it, right? Electricity flows, you get a light, right? So it doesn't matter. However, one way might be safer than another. Okay? On a regular light bulb, did you know that a light bulb has two, that should be the number two contact points for electricity? Do you know where they are?
On the tip, and then that little golden thing.
Yeah, on the tip right there, and it's not that golden thing. It's actually the threads is the other contact.
That's what I meant.
Okay? So the silver threads, that silver sort of spiral thing on the outside of the light bulb, that's the one contact point, and the other one is the bottom. Now, which one of those two, when you've got a socket that a light bulb goes into, which one is easier to touch with your finger?
What?
The thread part, right? If that was the electrical live electricity part, that could be dangerous, right? And so most plugs are set up, most outlets are set up, or receptacles are set up so that the hot contact, the electrical, the actual live electricity is on the bottom, right? And so when you plug it in, that way the electricity ensures that it goes to that bottom one there, right? It's so that when you change your light bulb, it's not as unsafe, right? Changing a light bulb can be unsafe if your receptacle isn't wired properly, or if you've got them plugged in differently, right? Now, older homes will have older outlets. You can plug it in either way, right? That's the safety thing. So that's why they do it, is they make one wider than the other so that it forces you to plug it in properly so that the safer part of the receptacle is harder to get at. Oh, sorry, the safer part is easier to get at.
I don't like them.
Does that make sense?
No.
So the polarized plug ensures that the threads are not electrified. This is good when you're replacing light bulbs. Okay? Most people leave the switch on when they're replacing the bulb because they want to see if it's going to work or not, right? Well, if it's not a proper one, then it could be a little bit dangerous.
So what you're trying to say is electricity can kill you.
Well, electricity can be dangerous, and more building people, electricians are coming up with ways that are making the electricity in our homes safer. And these are just some of the things.
You can just wear rubber. You know,
Just live by candles for the rest of your life, right?
no, wear rubber boots on. And
These are also a bit of a pain in the butt, right? I remember my dad taking out a hacksaw and cutting that thing off. I remember him doing that.
why? Oh, because back in
Because
the
back in the good old days, when I was a wee lad, we didn't have outlets like this in our home. And so my dad, I remember it was like probably an extension cord for the car or something like that. He cut that off so that it would fit in the outlet out in the garage. What we should have done is we should have
got a new one.
got a new one of these. It might have cost all of $1.50 back then. But my dad, being, like dads are, I'm just going to cut that off and plug it in.
That's a that was-
Hopefully he's not listening to this video. He's not. So these 3-prong plugs are generally found on appliances with metal cases. Who has a toaster that's got a metal case on it?
I don't remember.
You all do. Toasters have metal cases. They can't be plastic. How come?
No.
They're melt, exactly. Okay? Things like toaster ovens, toasters, some coffee makers,
Ovens.
computers are metal cases. Okay? So, the 3-prong plug allows the breaker to do its job if somehow the case becomes electrified. Because you could get a little wire that gets loose inside. Your toaster could become electrified. And if you touch your toaster when it's electrified,
You'll die.
your hair will stand up.
I never showed.
So when my dad cut off that little thing off there off our car interior heater, right? What happened where he's negating the safety, right? If it had ever become broken, this could happen in a car with bumps and stuff. You could get a shock by touching it. Okay, bad idea. I think my dad's throwing away that extension cord now. Okay, are we done? It appears that we're done.
It appears to be.
It appears. Excellent. Now I have no exercises for you. Go on with some jumping jacks if you can. Basically, you'll have to be able to explain on the test, from what I remember, you'll have to be able to explain one of those things, or I'll give you a hint and you just need to finish the explanation. Okay? So today, what did we talk about? Let's go back to the start.
It's about the electricity and dying and how burning your house down is worse than dying.
Did I tell you what a fuse box and a breaker panel are? Yeah. I told you what a GFCI outlet is for. I explained why some plugs have 2 different size plugs and why some plugs have 3 prongs. If you're wondering about the history project, this is what it looks like. You are to make a small poster, regular paper size, or a PowerPoint, or a Prezi, or a video outlining the history of the electric model. Include dates where possible. You should cover what did the Greeks know, the Dufay model, use your notes. Ben Franklin model, use your notes. Particle model, use your notes. Okay? Do not spend much more than an hour on this. This is not a full-blown, crazy, like, write out the encyclopedia. Do not copy and paste. Do it yourself. Show me what you know.
So can I just write?
You already have this.
I can write it
Can
down.
be on loose leaf, sure.
The whole
I just want you to summarize.